Welcome back, everybody. Today we're going to be casting fire ant nest here. Pretty large one. I think it's going to be largest I've ever done. So we'll go ahead and see how this goes. Time to set up the sand dam. All right, well, that's one hell of a dam. So since this anthill is so big, I went ahead and basically reinforced it as much as I could around the sides with some wetter sand, and then shaped up the interior here. That way it would just have a nice sort of natural circle for the base, but as well gives us a bunch of pore surface. Time to light her. So I've got the furnace currently running at the lowest possible setting in order to slowly heat up the crucible and the rest of the furnace. So I haven't run this furnace in about 8 months, or the crucible hasn't been heated up in about 8 months. So you're gonna get a lot of moisture, especially I live in Florida. So you're gonna get a lot of moisture in that crucible and in that furnace, just naturally seeping in there. And if you don't burn that off sort of slowly, let it come up to temperature slowly, you're gonna get cracks, which would be a bad day, having all that molten aluminum splash everywhere when you go to pick it up with your tongs. All right, so now it's starting to get red hot in there. I'm gonna crank it all the way up. Full open, baby. So here I got a little piece of aluminum rod. I'm gonna shove it in there, show you how fast it melts. That fast. So after a long hiatus, we're back, and this time we're sponsored, Lakeland Aircraft Maintenance. Thanks guys so much. I just want to go over a quick safety thing and also explain my absence. The ground in Florida can get really wet, and mixing molten aluminum with wet ground can be a recipe for disaster. So basically, that moisture in the ground can flash into steam, which expands about 17 times the size of the water it currently is, and it expands so quickly it's considered an explosive reaction. So that explosive reaction, physical reaction, can send all the molten aluminum that you've got right on top of your anthill there straight back up towards you. And even if you're wearing plenty of PPE, like I wear a face mask and those gloves that you see, it doesn't matter. It can land on your head where you're unprotected. And really the only thing to protect yourself would be wearing one of those whole lava suits, which I'm frankly not going to do in the 90-degree Florida heat. So that's one of the reasons I've been gone, and just wanted to give a little quick safety explanation there, and also an explanation of myself. So here I've got what is an old piece of one of our castings that broke off. Not sure exactly which casting it came from, but I'm gonna repurpose it today, melt it down. One of the safety things you gotta think about though before you throw it in there is preheating your metal. If you just throw your metal in without preheating it, it's a recipe for disaster, right? The same deal's gonna happen, it's gonna explode. So what I like to do is I just chuck it on there, right on top like that, let it preheat, and while it's sitting there, aluminum's a very conductive metal, so get rid of any moisture on there. And as soon as it starts to look like it's going to melt, I'm going to push the rest in. Alright, so now it's hot and toasty. I'm going to scrape off the dross on the top, which is all of the sort of slag and then expose that nice shiny metal. So this is all the impurities and stuff that we don't want in our cast. Alright, so now we're going to go ahead and pour. Wow, I just ate that up. All right, so this is going to be a big one for sure. So I'm going to go ahead and melt down some more aluminum. All right, time to remove the dross again. Oh, that's hot. Yeah, just the radiant heat coming off this started burning my arm hairs there. All right, and then we're gonna go straight into the pour. Back up. All right, last little bit of dross. And then we're going to go ahead and pour. Now, I've got my fingers crossed that this is the last bit of aluminum we'll need, because I currently don't have any more bars. However, I'm thinking that we're going to need more aluminum. So this might have to be a multi-day project. Yeah, it looks like we're going to need a little bit more aluminum. So, in order to recover this, now it's sinking, we're going to need a lot more aluminum. Alright, so here I found a piston head. I've melted these down before. This one will fill up the crucible just right. So, hopefully that'll be enough to save us here. Look at that, went up, filled the crucible, perfect. So let me get that dross off. Yeah, piston heads are awesome. I love piston heads, they're the best thing to melt down for aluminum. That and rims for cars. Throw those in a big fire pit, get them hot, and then get a sledgehammer in the fire pit and start breaking them apart, pulling the chunks out as you go. Perfect metal for melting stuff, or for casting stuff, sorry. we go. All right, let's see if I can quickly smooth out the surface a little bit. Actually, it looks like, let me see if this is, I've actually got a few bit more aluminum in here. Alright, well, the cast is complete. However, I don't have a good base here. So, I am going to need to still source some more metal. I've got a couple rims, but I'm not going to be able to do that tonight. So, I'll go ahead and get that done tomorrow, finish off the base, and we'll dig her up. Yeah, that's a lot of slag in there. Well, dross is the proper term. Yeah, so that was there's a lot of impurities. Basically what that means. It has the consistency of almost powder. You can see it falls apart. And you can see a bit of steel in there. Starting a little brush fire there. Hold on. It's not too big of a deal. Alright, let's pour the rest of this a little bit. So, here's one of the ways that I get my metal. I go ahead and take old car tires that are busted up. I just remove the tire itself, leave the rim, and then I just chunk the rim into just a normal fire. I've got some wood down there burning. And then I slowly build up a fire around it. And the fire burns at about 1,000 degrees Fahrenheit. Aluminum melts at about 1,200. So it gets it nice and soft, and I just get in there with a sledgehammer, break it into small chunks, and then I take those small chunks and throw them into the furnace. So now, right there, you can see it starting to melt. So I'm gonna go ahead and pull the top logs off and start breaking it apart. Alright, so after sledgehammering in the fire a little bit and rotating around the rim, got about half of it broken up into chunks that are sitting near the bottom of the fire now. And so I'm gonna let this other half up here that wasn't heating up as fast as the other heat up, and then go back at it with the sledgehammer. All right, so here we are back on day 2. Well, technically week 2, but that's Florida for you. We got a bunch of rain, so I had to take a break from pouring any more. But now it's hopefully dried out enough, and we're gonna pour some more. I also got some more metal. That's what we ran out of last time. This is the results from throwing the rim in the fire pit. There's some pieces that didn't quite melt, but I still should be able to fit in the crucible. And then this is the results of it melting down into the charcoal. So you get some interesting charcoal infused, or aluminum infused charcoal. And then those are just tiny little bits. So I'm gonna see how melting that down works. But let's get her back started. Alright, so now we've got that. It's just a mixture of molten aluminum and charcoal. So I'm just kind of poking around, letting all the aluminum settle to the bottom, trying to get the charcoal to float to the top, and then I'm gonna start skimming off the charcoal. And a little bit of aluminum is probably gonna come with it, but hopefully it's mostly charcoal. You can see it's burning. It's actually a really pretty fire. Sparks up a little bit. All right, looks like we're starting to hit some aluminum down there. Try to get this before my glove gets too hot. All right, cool. Now that we got mostly aluminum, I'm gonna go ahead and add some more. All right, so now I'm gonna throw this big boy in there. I'm gonna let it preheat on the top a little bit first before I dunk it into the molten aluminum. Alright, so now we got some more charcoal to take care of. Just go ahead and shove it down there. Break everything up. Just the radiant heat off this thing is insane. Alright, and then go ahead and let it heat up a little bit more and we'll pour. Alright, and remember, if you guys are ever trying this yourself, please, please, please wear as much safety protection as possible. Stuff won't just burn you, it'll burn through you, give you the worst burns possibly imagined, and it could kill you. But on that note, time to pour it into the ground. All right, and I'm gonna work a little quickly here, see if I can spread it evenly. Try to get this base as flat as possible. Hey, look at that, hardens up so quick. All right, so I think let's go ahead and do one more pour, like a half pour over here. Try to get this base flat and thick. So I have a feeling that this casting might be a little all over the place and pretty big. So I want to make sure the support is as good as possible. All right, let's melt it up. Uh-oh, something had zinc in it that I put in there. That's not, so if you ever see this, that sort of yellow right there, you see how that flame's almost white and it's producing a white smoke. That is zinc oxide. It is not good to breathe at all. If you're ever dealing with something that has zinc, like brass, make sure you're wearing like an N99 mask or some sort of other respiratory protection. because if you breathe that, you'll get something called metal fume fever, which is like the flu, but a little bit worse. I did a little research on it, and it doesn't seem like there's any long-term side effects. However, it is not fun anyways. It's about a week long. Really makes you sick, throwing up, a bunch of nasty stuff. So that's why I don't mess with brass or anything with zinc. You can do it, I just prefer not to. So that's going in the junk. Trying to scrape that off. They just make certain alloys have zinc in them for aluminum. It makes the aluminum flow a little easier. Zinc has a real low melting temperature. So now I'm gonna go ahead and get all this off. Alright, cool. Go ahead and try to smooth that, pop that little bubble there. Yeah, I don't think I'm gonna be able to get it perfectly flat, but that's all right. I think what I'll end up doing is adding some like table protectors, those little fuzzy things on the bottom here to make it flat, so when it sits on the table, nice and flat. So, but I'm not gonna add any more aluminum to this. It's gonna be heavy as hell, as it already is. So now we'll dig it up tomorrow. All right, so I got a little leftover aluminum. I just preheated this mold. Always make sure you preheat your molds, or else you could get an explosion from residual moisture. Moisture can be invisible, actually, even. So always be careful. All right, there's your little ingot. It'll cool down while we're waiting for tomorrow. All right, so we're back. Day 3, gonna dig her up. All right, so now I'm gonna use the hose, try to excavate this area. It's got a bunch of roots this close to the casting. I don't want to mess up the casting with a big shovel. So there's the first little bit of the casting getting exposed there. Let's go over there. So we got a couple deeper ones down there. I'm gonna start rinsing those away. All right, so now the casting is getting a little bit loose. So what I'm gonna do is go around and just, I'm gonna dig a little deeper. I know it goes down about another probably 6 inches from here at least. So I'm gonna go around this back edge that I haven't completely dug out yet. I'm gonna go down another 6 inches, feel around, see if there's anything that I can get loose. And then from there, I should be able to pull it out. Hopefully nothing will break, but we'll see. We're at the bottom of the casting. I'm just going around trying to pick at it, make sure that I'm actually at the bottom, just so I don't break off any small pieces as I go to pull it out. I've got a little helping root up here. This is basically the only thing stopping this thing from falling right now. So I'm gonna leave that until I know for certain I'm gonna pull it out. Then I'll cut that off while I support the weight of the casting myself. Uh-oh, it's shifting. I'm gonna hold it. Yep. All right, so we had to cut there just because it took way more than 2 people. It started shifting on me for a sec. So if you look down in the bottom there, we did lose a couple pieces, but it's only those couple pieces. So I'm very happy about that. Last one I did of this scale, it broke straight down the middle right here. So much better this time around. I'm gonna leave it on its side for now. I'm gonna try and clean off as much of this dirt as possible and make it as light as possible. And then I'm gonna attempt to flip it on its base. One side of the base wasn't very well attached, so I'm a bit worried about that. So we're just gonna try to do as much weight reduction as possible on this before we flip it. All right, let's give that a go. All right, so now we got it mostly washed off. Hopefully it's light enough to where I can flip it without it breaking. Try and support it as much as I can. Oh, look at that, perfect. All right, so now let's set her down. Uh-oh. I'm not too certain about setting it down. All right, I'm gonna need 2 hands to do this, so we're gonna cut here. All right, so I got it upright. However, it is very precarious to carry. It's only got a couple attachment points down here. One of them isn't really attached at all. I believe it's this one. It's just sort of resting on the plate itself. The other one, I heard it creaking as we were shifting around, which is why I cut away. So yeah, right now it's gonna be pretty hard to move until I can, I'm gonna braze it, put some brazing down on it around the edges where it's supposed to attach, which will hopefully secure it a bit better. So I might just leave it here and do that in place. Because I've got to walk this all the way over to the garage, which I don't think will happen. So we'll see though. Well, I got it all welded up, moved it over. It's absolutely massive. Super happy with how it came out. I'd like to thank everybody for subscribing, leaving a like and a comment. Helps out the channel a bunch. This casting definitely took me the longest of all of them. Probably about three and a half weeks of time total in order to get this one out of the ground in one piece. Also, a little side note, I didn't actually weld it. I went ahead and JB welded it. You can see some of the JB weld there, up there, down there. And this is what I'm talking about, how it's barely supported. Everything down here is super thin support. So I just slapped a bunch of JB weld on everything down there, and it helped a lot. this thing's rock solid now. So super happy with how that turned out. I can move it around, not really have to worry about it falling apart on me. So I feel like this one came out great. A couple of neat things to point out. You can see how those different pores mix together. They sort of wrap around each other. Not quite fusing, but still pretty sturdy. So I'd like, ideally, to get a bigger furnace at some point, and so I can do this all in one pour. I think that would make it come out real well. And another little neat thing that I can point out is these ants right here. You can see they get turned into charcoal, almost preserved perfectly. Well, thanks everybody for watching the video. I hope you enjoyed.